So, welcome everyone to another one of our fabulous sessions for the International Women in Business Summit. I don't know whether it's in International Women in Business or Business Women, but anyway, it's women who do business and they're here together to learn more things from other fabulous women. And the next one is someone that I have known for a long time. Anne and I have been in the same professional association for many moons, all about sharing expertise with people. Anne Andrews has decades of experience in all kinds of wonderful things like leadership in all kinds of different circumstances. But I was just saying to her a minute ago, I think she's now really stepped into her power around supporting women acting courageously. Her book, Women Behaving Courageously, the subtitle is How Gutsy Women, Young and Old, Are Transforming the World. And I think that's really what we're all here to help happen at this gathering, is if we can empower more people more women to do more good, the world will be a better place. So, Anne, the comment on your topic for today is, I know I'm here to do something amazing. If only I could work that out, what that was. I'm really looking forward to hearing more about it. Over to you.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so just a little bit about my background, which is I've spent way over 30 years in HR. I was working in the corporate world and I realized that I loved working with teams. And of course, throughout my career, I've mostly worked with male teams, male leaders, male team leaders, male CEOs. And I've been doing that for years. And I even worked with the police for a while and I worked with a rugby team. So, yeah, very diverse ways of working, all to do with teams. Speak at conferences, people would say, I've got a team, it's not functioning, can you help us? I'd go and help them. And then COVID hit, and my business is live. It's me. That's what it is, yeah. So it's like, okay, so now what? And a little bit like Lisa's situation where the universe just pops in and says, okay, well, here's a little opportunity for you, Anne. So I was pottering around in my office one day and there was a shout from across the fence, my lovely neighbor, Hannah. She shouted, because I have actually written a lot of books about leadership and teams and conflict and all of that. So her question was, have you written any books for women in leadership? And I said, I haven't. No, I haven't. And I said, so what makes you ask? And she said, well, I work for one of the four big banks in New Zealand. And like everybody else, we're all being told, we've got to close down, reduce staff. And what we women in the banking part of the operation were told was we had to reapply for a very reduced number of positions, but all the men's jobs were safe. I was speechless. It was like, could not believe it. So it's like, okay, that's terrible, horrible. I can't believe you're actually telling me that, but I will go and I will write a book for women in leadership because obviously, when I first started, there were very, very few women in senior positions. And I've had some very interesting, very interesting experiences. My one good thing, if you like, was I'm ex-military. I was Women's Royal Navy. And so a lot of my female colleagues weren't treated terribly well, but because I'd been military, I don't know, there was a little bit of a difference about the way but I was still treated as a woman. So that's a whole different ball game. So I sat and started thinking about all the women that had impressed me through my life. And I have what I've in the book, I've got women heroes, of which there are thousands, and I've got 25 female warriors. I won't go into those today because I have actually got a few little clips on my exhibit with the various warriors that I chose and why I chose them. But what I wanted to do today, given that my topic is, a topic I chose, because I meet such a lot of women who, when I'm talking about, go with your passion, why are you here? What are you wanting to do with your life? And of course, they all look at me with like, I've got a mortgage, I've got children, and I'm going, yeah, I know, me too, but you're here for a reason. And so when I do this, I'm here, I know I'm here. Why? It just sets that little seed of thinking for women to start thinking about what what if, what would it be? And I want to share the story of one particular woman who just life changing. So we have a 60-year-old woman who is working in intensive care as a nurse. She's on her feet all day and she's nearly 60. And she's on one of my workshops for women. And she said, "That's all very well, Anne." You can imagine the tone. "That's all very well, Anne, all this lovely passion stuff. But I have a mortgage." Okay, we've all got mortgages. So I said, "Okay, well, let's just pop that to one side. Let's change frequency, Lisa. If you, if money wasn't an object, a problem, what would you do differently?" And you could see the shift in her. She said, "Well, I grow herbs and I take them to the farmer's market on a Sunday morning, and it's just the other side of my life, and it's, what I would love to do." And so I said, "Okay, well, how about what if you won lotto today? What would you do?" She said, "Well, I'd hand in my notice and I'd do this full time." I said, "Okay, well, I'm going to show you how you can do that without winning lotto. Because as we know, Lisa, don't we? I actually, in one of my teams, because I do goal setting with them, and one of the teams, an all-male team, I was talking about goal setting. And because most people haven't got a clue, haven't heard of goal setting. Me neither. I hadn't either. And one man, I was talking about two things. I was talking about goal setting, and one man said, "Win lotto. I want to win lotto." I said, "Okay, so here's my thoughts on that." So people who win lotto who haven't got a plan or a passion or a purpose within 2 years are broke. And people who, and the other one, of course, is "I want to retire." People who retire and haven't got a purpose or a passion within 2 years are dead. Sorry. And people give me some terrible looks. They go, "Are you being paid to talk to us like this?" Yes, I am. Thank you very much. And you will thank me down track. So here we are with Carol, this lovely nurse. And I said, "Okay, so let's put the money to one side. So how about if I give you a wish? I'm going to grant you the wish that in 3 years' time, you will be doing your herbs full time." And she just went very quiet. I said, "Okay, and I'm going to show you how you're going to do that." So in order for you to be doing that in 3 years' time, in 2 years' time, you need to be working probably only 3 days a week. And in 1 year's time, you need to be probably working only 4 days a week. And that's going to give you the time to put more time into your herbs. So the more herbs you have, the more money you can make, and you're going to create a different circle. And so I said, "Okay, so what's that going to take for you to do tomorrow? What will you do tomorrow to start this process of you in 3 years' time doing herbs full time?" And we actually went off and did some coaching with her. The company paid for some coaching for her. So it wasn't just in this one team session. So what she said was, "Well, okay, we've got a mortgage. Yeah, okay, the mortgage is whatever. So what can you start to do to pay down that mortgage? What can you sell off? What are the things you can do to at least start chipping away?" And it was just she started making a list of all the things. Oh, well, so long story short, what she did was she ended up doing her herbs in 2 years full time. Because what she realized was her and her husband, he needed to start thinking in terms of this as well. He was doing a physical job and he was 64. And you can't keep doing physical jobs when you're 64. So they had gone home and they'd spent the whole weekend talking about this crazy idea that this woman's come up with. So they decided that they needed to downsize their house for a start, pay off the bulk of their mortgage. And in the year and a half to 2 years, to pay off as much as they could. And then in 2.5 years, they bought a small holding outside Auckland, because Auckland properties are horrendously priced. They made millions on this property. So they were able to go out into the countryside, buy a bit of land. He loved joinery. He loved making furniture. So within 2.5 years, they had sold their house, paid off their mortgage, were living out in the country. He was doing his pottering around in the garage making things, and she was doing hers full time. All because we asked that question, what would you do differently if money wasn't an object? What would you do if, you didn't have a mortgage? What would you do differently if you won lotto tomorrow? And so basically that's my session here today is to actually reach out to the women who are going to watch this, who are in a job that maybe they've grown out of. And of course, what we're finding here in New Zealand is there's so many people being made redundant that we've got an awful lot of people looking for a very few jobs. And and I also step back into, because being an HR manager, one of the worst jobs I ever had was to make a whole department redundant. It was the technology sector, and these guys, and it was mostly men again, they were in the mainframe sector and of course, mainframes were now obsolete. We were all moving to PCs. And I was told that I had to make 23 men redundant. I knew these people, they'd just got married, somebody had just had a baby, they'd all got mortgages. And so the night before, I don't think I slept a wink. So I thought, how am I going to do this? How am I going to position it to these people that I know? And so what I said to each of them when they came into my office to hear the dreaded news, I said to them, you can either make this the worst day of your life, hey Lisa, or you can make this the best. And I'd organize for them to have some CV training and interview training and so forth. And I believe, like when we've said the manure hits, we can suffocate underneath it, die of the fumes or whatever, or we can scrape the manure off and use it as our fertilizer. So what I want to say to the women who are going to be listening to this, who are in a job that they hate, a job they've outgrown, a job for a boss that treats them like dirt, and I know a lot of people in those situations, not just male bosses, by the way, some awful female bosses, is use this opportunity of what we're all doing to say, okay, well, if I was given a chance to do anything in the world that I wanted to do, that was my passion, my purpose, what would I do differently? And when am I going to start? And so that's really where I come to for women and men also. I mean, I do this for women, but men are just as stuck. Men get stuck in, oh, well, I've got a mortgage and I've got you. Okay, but what would you do differently if you didn't have a mortgage? And just to get the thought processes going. And so, with the whole quote thing, one of my favorite people with quotes is, and I've already forgotten his name, but anyway, his thought is, if you think your life on earth is done, if you're still alive, it isn't. And, that's for all of us. I mean, I'm not getting any younger. And one of the things I talked to Sigrid about in one of the little interviews we did was somebody had asked me about goal setting, and I'd never heard of it. And when I thought about it, I thought, yeah, okay, well, what I'd like to do is that. And then the following year, that same person up my performance interview said, okay, what next? And I went, could you just let me relax in the one I've just said for a wee while? No, what's your what next? And so, that's what I keep saying to people. And people do the buts. I've written a book called Shift Your Butt, because we go, oh yes, but I'm too old. No, you're not as old as me, so you're not too old. Oh, I've got children. Oh, I've got a mortgage. It's like, okay, well, you can find all the excuses in the world to keep denying what you're here to do. The saddest one actually ever was I was speaking to a mixed audience, and it was a really tense moment. And I'm from Yorkshire, and we're not known for being tactful, and especially when we're caught on the hop. And so it was clear throughout my session, which had been about, growing and being more and doing more. And I could see this married couple not far in the front row, and I could see he kept nudging her, and she kept nudging him. I was thinking, oh, this is not going to be good. Um, and he said, I have a question. I went, oh, and I'm dreading what the question's going to be. And he said, what if your wife won't let you do what you want to do? And I thought, please don't say change your wife. And so I said, so I didn't. It did cross my mind, but I didn't. But I said, okay, um, I believe no one has the right to take away your passion. And that's all I can say. And I just have to leave you with that. And I looked at his wife and I said, and you wouldn't want to do that, would you? Because what's yours? What's your passion? By worrying about his, why are you not worrying about your own? So, none of this stuff is easy. We know that. All of us sitting here know this. We're still doing what we love. Are we millionaires? No, not an interest of mine. The number of times people have, well, of course, I walked away from a massive income with this particular company to start my own business, and people were saying, are you mad? And it's like, my heart and soul isn't in that business. My heart and soul is in helping to grow people. And I can only do that from outside a company because mostly inside a company, they're not that interested in having their people grow, sadly. Yeah. So that's kind of my session. It's probably not long enough, but
It's
um,
exactly the right length.
yeah,
It's
it's
me,
just
Anne. It's
that's my
perfect.
passion, is helping people find their passion.
Yeah.
It's that don't die with your music still in you. Wouldn't that be absolutely awful
It
to
would
be
be
lying
tragic.
there, on your deathbed, thinking, if only, why
Only if I
didn't
can.
I? Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm saddened by the husband kind of glancing at the wife,
Mm,
and she's going, no, you're not allowed to do that because we have a mortgage.
mm,
But
yeah.
but I'm betting that if they just sat down quietly without the mortgage on their minds and the kids on their minds,
Yeah.
they might actually come up with something. And your story of the nurse and the herbs
Yeah.
and the joiner husband, what bliss. And they did it
Yeah.
faster because as Lisa talked about before, once you change your mind, you change your frequency,
Yeah.
everything changes and things just
Yeah.
absolutely escalate. So,
Yeah.
and thank you for sharing from your
Oh,
depth
you're very welcome.
and from your heart. I just
Yeah.
loved that session, and some beautiful things for us to remember, including that you're here because you just kept stepping into the things that you were being asked to do, and we're
Yeah.
very glad that that happened. So thank you so much for being a part of
Very welcome.